I have a political parable to share with you that came to me today. It's not based on anything at all that's in the current news cycle, but I still think you may enjoy it, so I wanted to share it with you. A political parable. 3 men were speeding on the interstate when they each noticed a police car pull out behind them with its lights on. The first man pulled over, rolled down his window, and turned off his car. "Do you know how fast you were going?" the policeman asked him. "No. How fast did you clock me at?" "I got you going 80 and a 70, the officer replied. The driver gave him his license and registration, and the police officer took them back to his car, ran them, and gave him a warning since he didn't find any warrants or prior tickets. The man continued on his way, this time paying closer attention to his speed. The second man also pulled over, rolled down his window, and turned off his car. The officer asked him the same question, and he answered the same. He didn't know how fast he'd been going. The officer told him he was going 85 and a 70, took his license and registration, went back to his car. About half an hour later, a second police car pulled up, and a second police officer got out, went over and talked briefly to the first one. The first officer handed over the driver's license and registration and left. And as the second police officer took them back to his car, the man saw in his rearview mirror that it was his nemesis, his lifetime rival, and a man who had hated his guts for years. The man sat back in horror, his hands starting to sweat. The officer went back to his car and ran the license, ran the registration, ran the license plate, started looking through every government database he could find to find some reason to put that driver in jail, and they're still sitting there on the side of the road today. The third driver was going much faster than the first two. He was going over 100 and a 70. When he saw the flashing lights behind him, he floored it and took off as fast as he could, trying to outrun the cops. After a spectacular high-speed chase that was all over the news, he was eventually stopped, arrested, and charged with reckless driving, evading arrest, endangering a police officer, and several other crimes. Astonishingly, he protested he was innocent of all these crimes, and offered the following defense, which was self-contradictory. He said, "I wasn't driving the car, and even if I was, I can drive as fast as I want, because I used to be the president. And if I was driving the car, and I can't go as fast as I want, I wasn't going as fast as you say I was, because you're lying about the whole thing to keep me from driving again." When he got to the police station, all his friends were protesting outside, holding signs saying things like, "He wasn't driving," and "He can drive as fast as he wants," and "Why aren't you arresting the other guys?" The police chief felt that he had to address the third protester's point, so he issued the following statement. "A high-speed chase is newsworthy. 2 guys pulling over right away when they see flashing lights isn't." As the day of the third driver's trial approached, evidence came to light that undermined each of his defenses. He was pictured by an automated toll booth driving the car on the day in question, and he was recorded telling a friend that now that he wasn't the president anymore, he couldn't actually drive as fast as he wanted. It also came out that he drove this fast every day and had been warned on several separate occasions that it was illegal. The protesters who were capable of independent thought were forced to abandon the first couple of signs, but there weren't very many of them, and in any case, they simply picked up the third sign that the protester had drawn, demanding that the other 2 drivers be treated like the third driver. Then all the protesters suddenly started talking about some fourth driver who had been issued a ticket by a speeding camera something like 10 years ago. The ticket had been thrown out after an investigation, and they were still angry about it. Of course, the real issue here wasn't that the 3 men were speeding, but what they had done after the flashing lights came on. That didn't matter to the protesters, though. They stormed the police station, shot several policemen, and freed their man. He went on to abolish the police and establish his own private police force. They wore brown shirts and had a peculiar salute that they did as they marched in neat rows. The citizens were elated.